Welcome, Yvonne.
Okay, he's speaking it out in the universe. Good morning, Rotarians. How are you? I trust that I know this is Saturday morning and you're all up looking bright and chipper. So here I am, thanks to President Peter. I like that, President Peter, so I'll call him that as of today.
Okay,
All
thank
right.
you.
I know you have a lot going on, so I'm going to be very brief. As Peter said, President Peter, or as Mark just said in the introduction, I wear a number of hats, but today I am here to talk about um, the the mindfulness, introduce a little bit of mindfulness into your lives. I'm sure it's something that you probably all already aware of. And I don't, so to the first slide that Peter has for me, just the next slide, Peter. So I'm going to talk about mindfulness in service. So what you can expect today in the few minutes that we have, this isn't a discussion about service because you guys know all about that. You have that down pat. Matter of fact, I need to sit at your feet to figure out how to, how to learn to serve. However, what this will be, it's just about including some mindfulness practices into service. I suspect that everybody here, and you may be in a minute, I'm just going to talk about what mindfulness is or just remind you what it is, because sometimes when we get into the service mode, and I'm sure when I join the club, right, I will even get a little bit more into this. Sometimes when we get into the service mode, we tend to forget about ourselves a lot of times because you're so busy giving to others. So we're going to talk a little bit this morning about the importance of as you serve, don't forget to be mindful about your own self. It's all well and good to be mindful of everybody else, but also to be mindful of yourself, because as we'll see in a second, as we like to say, you can't pour from an empty cup. So, and how many of you will agree that service, as amazing as it is, it can, if you're not careful, it can leave you a little bit, especially nowadays. How many, I don't know how many of you have had a hard time in the last 2.5 years. Is it 2.5? This pandemic has been going on for so long, I keep forgetting. Sounds like we've been in it for 10 years. But sometimes just including some mindfulness practices into what we do can make all the difference in the world when you're serving. So let's look at what mindfulness is to begin. Mindfulness, just in a nutshell, is focused awareness, meaning it is that practice. And you may say, mindfulness kind of has become a buzzword, if you will, been around for ages, but it has become the latest hot topic. Everybody's talking about mindfulness. But what is it? It is simply focused awareness, just being fully present in every single thing that you do. And as Rotarians, you may already, somebody may say, but we do that every day. We are very focused in what we do. But sometimes we have to step back and wonder, are we really? Being fully present means feeling what you are feeling, not just being so, you're aware of the people that you're serving, but what are you feeling and doing and being? What's happening to you in that moment that you're offering the amazing services that you provide, the mentoring that you're doing, be mindful of everybody else's community. What are you doing for yourself as well? So being fully present in what's happening, refraining from judgment. And Lord knows sometimes when you're in the throes of service, you have to be mindful that it is what it is. You have to go, I'm sure you go into this without judgment, without judging others, but you also have to go into it without judging yourself. We make mistakes, we do our thing, and sometimes we're not in maybe the best space or the best frame of mind, but you refrain from judging. You're present, right? Keep your emotions in check. No, that's hard. I know that's hard for me sometimes. You want to dive in and you want to put your whole emotions in it and you want to give your 2 cents. You want to clap back. You want to do all of that, but keeping your emotions in check, responding instead of reacting. and strengthening our connection to our core selves. I was really, really interested when I heard your code of conduct, because I've read it up on the internet. I kind of looked to see what those codes were, and it kind of aligns so very well with what mindfulness is, because it's all about connecting to not just your core beliefs. And I'm sure many of you are in this service because of the things that you believe, because of the way you want to show up in the world. So mindfulness in a nutshell is all about that, just focused awareness, being present in everything that you do, in every person that you're serving, in every situation that you are engaging in, being fully aware, fully focused, and fully present in it, locking out anything else so that you can at all times give of your best self. So the next slide, Peter. If you want to know, there's something that I like this quote, because if you want to know where your heart is, look to where your mind goes when it wanders. And when you're being mindful in anything that you're doing, if you're like me, my mind, and all of you here sound like creative people, my mind sometimes going a million miles an hour. I'm doing one thing. How many of you have ever driven home and can't even remember how you got there?
Yes.
I can put up two hands. I don't know. It's a good thing my car has an intelligence of its own. It seems to know where I live. So it just takes me there, right? But sometimes when we are in the we like to take ownership and be so proud about how much we can multitask. And that's all well and good. But sometimes multitasking doesn't allow us to really stay present. So even as you're out serving, doing great things in your communities, doing great things in society, doing great things in your families and all of that, how present are you? And service, as you know, service is at the heart of service is your heart. But sometimes are we serving? And I ask myself that. I don't know if you ask yourself. When I'm serving, I'm asking myself a lot of times, am I serving out of obligation? Am I serving to be noticed? Am I serving because that is where my heart is? Am I serving because this is what I want to do? And from what I know about Rotarians, from what I know about the people who join associations such as yours, you have to have a heart for it. You have to have a heart for this kind of service. So if you want to know what's happening, mindfulness allows you to check in and to see at any point in time, am I doing what I say I'm doing for the right reasons? And as your code of conduct really sets it out beautifully. So you have to stay in that space. We have to be mindful as we serve to stay in that space at all times so that we're giving the best of ourselves to the best of others, to bring out the best in others as well. Peter? Yes. So you might be asking, what does mindfulness have to do with Rotary and the Rotarians and with service? Mindfulness and service are inseparable. If you're really serving as you all are, then mindfulness, whether or not you're actively aware of it, mindfulness is an integral part of what you do. So going forward, as of today, you may start to be a little bit more present, right? Mindfulness and service are inseparable because it helps us to understand how we show up. As I just said earlier, sometimes people serve for different reasons. You serve because you feel forced to serve. You serve because you feel as if maybe it'll look good. But that is not necessarily, as you all know, and you are very well aware, You've been in service for so long, in the business of service for so long, that you understand that it's all about how you show up. And the more mindful you are, the more present you are, the more aware you are, the better you're able to serve. You want to, mindfulness helps you to understand how you're showing up in your families, in your communities. And this last part of it, more importantly, to ourselves. How are you showing up for yourself? As you're serving others, how well are you serving yourself? Because you have to be first mindful of who you are and what you are doing before you can adequately serve somebody. I don't know if anybody, and guys, feel free to, to jump in as I'm speaking and to, make any suggestions or ask any questions. So mindfulness can help to show how you are showing up. In other words, mindfulness will show you up. Sometimes while we're busy showing out, mindfulness will show you up. What are your motivations? What is driving you to serve? Are you serving in the best capacity? More important, so you're checking in with yourself to see how best you can serve others. Next. Mindful people, again, just continuing, what does mindfulness have to do with what you do? Mindfulness helps you to understand, mindful people understand the need to serve. I know President Peter has talked to me about the Rotary Club, and when he talks about it, or why I should join, he's framing it in all of these nice, telling me the needs, the need to serve and all of that. So he's been working on it. He's working on me here behind the scenes. So yes. Mindful people understand the need to serve. If you are just jumping into service because it's kind of a bandwagon thing, if you will, then you're not being mindful of what you really are supposed to be. Mindful people, you guys are dedicating. I just heard, who was it? Was it Mark who says he's going on to something right after this? So that's another area. You understand the need to serve. Mindful people understand the world in a symbiotic way. You understand that it's not just about you. You are connected to everything else, and everything else is connected to you. And when you can see service, when you can see the world around you in that way, then it makes your service even more impactful. It makes the way you serve even more joyful, if you will. Mindful people understand that true service is about something bigger than they are. It's something bigger than they are. I teased Peter when he told me that he was, in the Rotary organization and what he was doing. And as asking him, so Peter, I think I teased and asked him, what else are you doing here? What are you doing? You're doing so many things here. And he was explaining that he has a heart for service. He just feels that this is what he needs to do, because I think inherently he, as all of you here, I'm sure, do understand that when you're really into service and mindful about it, you realize that it's not about you. It's bigger than you. It's really bigger than you. It's something that you're called to do, because he couldn't, and he said, Yvonne, don't and I just feel like this is what I have to do. And this is what it has to feel like. You have to feel like there's a bigger purpose. There is something. You mightn't see it today, you mightn't see it tomorrow, but you have to trust and know that your service, what you're doing, is about something larger, so much larger than you. Mindful people understand that service develops gratitude. Service develop gratitude. And I'm going to ask here, how many of you, when you serve, you feel so grateful about maybe what you have? Not just service about being grateful about what you're doing, but you feel so grateful. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you said, my God, and I dare complain. I dare complain about what's happening to me. Yes?
Yes, Yvonne, definitely. That has happened to me, countless times.
Because you're mindful of it. If you're just there serving, And all you can do after you serve is say, see what I did, see you. That's not serving mindfully, right? That's not, you're making this about you, if you will. But mindful people like you are, you're grateful when you get into a situation sometimes, or when you're able to see somebody else's situation or see a community's needs and realize how blessed you are and just how grateful. So it helps you to develop gratitude. And not gratitude, and that's a whole nother, I could talk for a whole nother 10 years about gratitude. But mindful people understand that service develops gratitude. Mindful people understand, and this is so very important, that service is a gift. Service is a gift. Not only is it a gift to the person you're serving, to the receiver, but it is such an amazing gift to you. It's such an amazing gift to the giver. And that ties in with the gratitude. So you're grateful that you're in this position to serve. And when you can understand that, when you see it as a true gift, you have that joy, you have that drive, you have that willingness to give, just to keep on giving, because it's almost, we could say service is the gift that keeps on giving, if you will, if if it's done the way that I know that Rotarians typically do service, the way they show up. So it's a gift, not just to the people that you serve, the communities that you serve, the organizations that you serve, but it is even a bigger gift to you, the giver. The next, Peter. President Peter, my next slide. Thank you. So, what are the benefits of including mindfulness in your service? I want you to consider this. I alluded to this a little bit earlier. Service can be overwhelming. I know maybe I'm not saying that in the right forum here, but if you're honest with yourselves, anybody ever overwhelmed by service, the things that you're tasked with or have tasked yourself with or being asked to do? I'm going to put up two hands. Has anybody ever found service overwhelming? There's nothing wrong with it, right? Even when it's rendered with the purest of intentions. Sometimes you ever in the middle of something and you said, Lord, gee, I bit off more than I can chew here.
Yes,
oh, Lord have mercy. What did I get myself into? So it can be a little bit overwhelming, even when you are a Rotarian, even when you're doing it with the purest intention. What can help with that overwhelming feeling sometimes? Mindfulness. Because mindfulness, at its core, is a stress reduction technique. Mindfulness helps you to reduce the stress. And that's, again, at another time, when I join the club, I'll talk all about mindfulness and stress reduction technique. I'll do a whole session on that. I just did one for teachers going back to school, because they're in the forefront of all of this. Talk about stress, we have it. So stress, mindfulness can give you the tools that you need to just combat some of these overwhelming feelings that you feel sometimes. Something as simple as breathing. You may say, but I breathe every day, Yvonne. Yeah, a lot of us are alive. So we think we're, doing well in the breathing department, but we're not. So just something as simple as breathing before you, get into your service mode. Something as simple as taking a few minutes out to yourself just to be quiet. Things of that nature, just simple things that you can do. And mindfulness helps you just to stay centered, to stay, as the next slide I think is going to talk about, to stay balanced. So let me see my next slide. Be mindful, you can't do it alone, right? It's all about balance. And I always use this sometimes when I'm teaching mindfulness, I always use this little acronym. Stress sometimes means someone trying to repair every situation solo. And that's why you get together in this club, because you realize that you can't do things alone. You can't do it all by yourself. You need help. You need a group such as this. You need the symbiosis of this group. You need the cohesion of this group. You need to call on other people. So if ever President Peter is over there trying to convince the rest of you that he can do it alone, just let me know over here and I'll remind him. Someone, you can't do it alone, right? It'll give you 2 minutes. Thank you. So this is just a nice little acronym for you to remember what stress is and for you to continue to lean on each other as you go through this. The next one, Peter, which I think is almost going to be my final slide. Mindfulness brings you balance. It helps to bring you balance. And a couple of things I want to leave you with, just to remember that as you go, Mark, I know you have to run off for something else, but please remember, you can't pour from an empty cup. I know you want to be in a million places at the same time, but you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't give what you don't have, Mark, right? Be mindful of how you feel. It's okay. I just wrote a book called Give Yourself Permission. And the first chapter in it is give yourself permission to say no, all right? Or give yourself permission to say yes, even as you have that heart for service, because the secret to your giving the optimum service is finding balance. It's not about how many things you can do and how many people you can serve at the same time. Because it's pointless if you're serving and you're grumbling, I'm so tired, I can't do this. You need to find that space, and mindfulness allows you to show up as your best self. And I think my final slide, because I know that the time is up. What's my final slide, Peter? This is just a slide to remind you that mindfulness is all about every single thing, your mind, your body, your spirit, bringing a positive mindset, the energy, how are you feeling? It's all of you at your very, very best. And the last one is, so why mindful service? Khalil Gibran said it best. I slept and I dreamed that life is all joy. I woke and I saw that life is all service. I served and I saw that service is joy. And this in a nutshell is what mindfulness is. So to serve is beautiful, but only if it is done with joy and a mindfulness involved.